Audio Jungle.
Hello everyone, it's me, your host, Ana Marie Mangyo.
And JV Morales, and welcome to our Shen Talk. But before we start our show, I have a question for everyone. Are you familiar with the word atomic theory?
But don't worry guys, because we will learn about it naman.
Our special guests for today are Ernest Rutherford, Niels Bohr, Henry Moseley, and Joseph John Thomson.
I know you've already heard about their names, because their name sounds familiar to us. And to give us more information,
let us all welcome our first guest, Joseph John Thomson.
also known as J.J. Thomson. Kindly explain who you are.
My name is Joseph John Thomas. I am a British philosopher, the recipient of the Nobel Prize in Physics. I was credited with discovering the electron and the first subatomic particle.
As a scientist, what are your contributions in atomic theory?
In 1897, I discovered electron and then went on to propose a model for the structure of the atom. My work also led to the invention of the mass spectrograph. I also proposed the plum pudding model of the atom, which is the negative charge electron is embedded within a positive charge soup.
I heard you were unable to explain the stability of atoms.
Yes, I wasn't able to explain how positive charge proton is able to hold the negative charge electron, which also led to the failure of first the position of nucleus in an atom.
Thank you, Mr. J.J. Thomson, for answering our questions. I hope our watchers learned something new today.
I think we're done. Thank you sir for giving us a glimpse of your time. Hope we see you again on our next episode.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Renzo Matunog, age 5, little chemistry whiz. Can you name all non-metal chemical elements?
Hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, chlorine, argon, krypton, xenon, radon, bromine, carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, and iodine.
Child's gift with ProMil Gold 4. With nutrients that help sharpen memory and brain performance. Advance today's gifts. ProMil Gold 4.
We're back. What a nice start for us.
Now, are we ready to meet our next guest and learn something new from him?
I think they are. Now, I introduce to all of you, Mr. Niels Bohr.
Hello everyone, it's also nice to meet you too, sir. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, let's start. Mr. Niels Bohr, we will ask you more questions for us to be enlightened.
What led you to your discoveries?
I was actually conducting my research for my doctoral thesis on the electron theory of metals that I first came across Max Planck's early quantum theory, which described energy as tiny as particles or quarks. I studied under J.J. Thomson, who studied electrons 15 years earlier. This is when I worked on the problem of atom structure.
Who helped you create the Bohr's model?
In July of 1913, I published a series of 3 papers introducing my model, which is called Bohr atom.
Why did you create the Bohr's model?
In 1913, I proposed my quantized shell model of an atom in order to explain how electrons can have stable orbits around the nucleus.
And I think we're done. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us.
Thank you for inviting me. We'll be back after this short break.
Challenge talaga sa umaga. I need my Blanca time. So thick and creamy, pero lasa pa rin ng kape. To get me ready for the day. Sa hapon, tulala sa work. Blanca time ulit. Kaya refocused ako. Ay, natapos din. Time to relax. Kopi ko Blanca. Make your day more creamy-licious.
And we're back.
Are you guys having fun?
Let's move on to our next guest.
Let us all welcome our third guest, Mr. Henry Moseley.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to be with you, sir.
So let's start our interview.
As a scientist, what did you contribute to science?
My contribution to the field of physics was the physical law-based justification of the atomic numbers, previous empirical and chemical notion. The scientific validation of several of the theories and models developed by eminent scientists in the past was possible in great portion by my work. Can you tell us about your discoveries? I discovered that the energy of X-rays emitted by the elements increased in a linear fashion with each successive element in the periodic table. In 1913, I proposed that the relationship was a function of the nucleus's positive charge. With the concept of organizing by atomic number, I took the next big step forward and was able to resolve the problems with the table's elemental order.
How was the periodic table organized?
I arranged the periodic table by in ascending atomic number order. Even though atomic number and atomic mass typically go hand in hand, some elements can have a higher atomic mass despite having a lower atomic number because these elements have more neutron-heavy isotopes than others. Wow! What a great statement!
Napakagaling talaga na ang daming tao na ganito katalino.
Tumatakbo sa isip ko at alam mo bang ikaw ang nagpapasaya.
Everyone atom with a charge because I got my iron.
Anong magagawa? Laging natutulala. Lumalapit ka.
Now, for our last guest, let us all welcome Mr. Ernest Rutherford.
Thank you for having me here.
What solid findings about the atom did you discover?
I discovered that the atom primarily made up of empty space. Tiny centered nucleus contains almost all of its mass. The electrons, which are negatively charged, surrounds the positively charged nucleus at a large distance.
What do you believe you are best known for?
I suppose that my work towards radioactivity in the atom is where I was known for, and I learned recently that uranium emits alpha and beta radiation, which are two different radiation types. I also discovered that the atom's mass is centered in its central positively charged nucleus, and majority of its mass is in empty space.
Describe your most well-known experiment.
It was the gold foil experiment. That was my next experiment. A piece of gold foil was put, then the alpha beam was aimed towards it, while some of the alpha particles were sent backwards. Most of them went through the foil. This explains that an atom is mostly made up of an empty space and that an alpha beam can go through it.
Why did you use gold foil?
My experiment was to demonstrate or illustrate how atoms are structured. Because very thin foil is needed, I used gold foil, since it is malleable than any other metals and can be made into very thin sheets.
How did you figure out the size of the nucleus?
I was actually able to determine the size of the nucleus by carefully measuring the size of the percentage of the negatively charged particles which were reflected through the large angles, and my calculations showed that the radius of the atom is actually 10,000 times larger than the radius of the nucleus itself.
Invent of the Stegroga.
Thank you, sir, for giving us a glimpse of us.
Cause sometimes I look in her eyes, and that's where I find a glimpse of us.
about her discoveries, I discovered that the energy of the X-rays emitted by the element increased in a linear fashion with each successive element in the periodic table. In 1930, I proposed that the relationship is a function.
That's a wrap!
There's hydrogen and helium, then lithium, beryllium, or carbon everywhere. Nitrogen all through the air, oxygen so you can breathe, and fluorine for your pretty teeth. Neon to light up the sign, sodium for salty times. Magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, and sulfur, chlorine, and argon. Potassium, and calcium so you'll grow strong. Scandium, titanium, vanadium, and chromium, and manganese. This is the periodic table, no gas is stable. Halogens and alkali react aggressively. Each period will see new outer shuffle. Electrons are added, moving to the right. Iron is the 26th, and cobalt, nickel, points again. Copper, zinc, and gallium, germanium, and arsenic, selenium, and rhodium. Will krypton, half-light of rubidium, strontium, and yttrium, zirconium, niobium, molybdenum, technetium, ruthenium, rhodium, palladium, silverware, then cadmium and indium, tin cans, antimony, then tellurium, and iodine, and xenon, and then cesium, and
Barium is 56, and this is where the table splits. Well, and the nights have just begun.